Hi, we are going to work on lesson number 9 today, module 5, lesson 9 from Eureka Math. Use area models and division to show equivalent fractions. So, we started off with, we've done the opposite of this. We've used area models and multiplication to show equivalent fractions. So just a quick review on that. If we had this, it shows 1/4. And if we divide it into two groups, so we multiply, we're dividing it into, we split we made more boxes. So we're not dividing it yet, we're making more boxes. So if we draw a line here, we make 8 boxes. So this is 2 eighths now. So 1/4 times, we made 2 separate boxes. So we multiply by 2. 2 times 2 is 2. 4 times 2 is 8. Okay. So now, if we start off with this, and the lights went out. Alright, so if we start off with this, we're starting off with 2 eighths. That's what we're starting off with. We have 2 boxes out of 8. Now, can we make equal groups? So, we can make equal groups of 2's. So we have equal groups of 2's. How many equal groups of 2's do we have? Yeah, we have 4. That becomes your new denominator. And then how many 4's do we have? 1 is our new numerator. Since we made groups of 2's, we're going to divide by 2 over 2. The same concept is true with division as it is with multiplication. If you divide by 1, any number divided by 1 is going to be the same number. So 2 eighths divided by 1 is the same number. Just as if we have 1/4 times 1, we get the same number. Here, it's in a different unit. So, eighths is smaller. So this is called reducing fractions. You're going to hear that a lot. Reduce your fractions to simplest form. This is called reducing fractions. This is the first step of it. Okay, so one more to show you and then we'll move on to the problem set. So if we have, let's see, three across, and 4 down, and we have this shaded. We have 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 times 4 is 12, so we should have 12 boxes there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 3 times, 3 twelfths. Now, how can we break that apart? Well, we can't break it into 2 because then we'd have some shaded and some not shaded if we broke it into 2's. But we can break it into 3's. So if we divide by 3 over 3, we end up with 1/4. So there's still 1 and 4. So 3 twelfths divided by 3 over 3 equals 1/4. Okay? Okay, we're going to move on to the problem set. The directions on the problem set, this is on page 122. Problem set 9, 122. I'll put that up here. Okay, so each rectangle represents 1. Compose the shaded fractions into larger units. Notice how it says compose. We're not decomposing. We're putting them together now instead of taking them apart. We're putting them into larger fractional units. 4 is a smaller fractional unit than 2. Because at 4, this is fourths. This is 2/4. So this is 1/4. But halves, this would be 1/2. So halves is bigger than fourths. Alright, so express the equivalent fraction in a number sentence using division. The first one's been done for you. So they took 2/4, divided it into 2 groups, so divided it by 2/2, and that equals 1/2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, 4 divided by 2 is 2. Okay, let's go over to letter B. Letter B, we have 3/6. Again, we can divide this into twos, groups of 2, or 2 groups. Actually, we're dividing it by 2 groups of 3. So if there's 3 in each group, so we're going to divide by 3/3, and we end up with 1/2. So the number you divide by is the number of squares in each group after you separate them into equal groups. Okay? So on letter C, we start off with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 5/10. We can break that into 2 equal groups. Everything in this group has to be shaded. So now, we can't have groups of shaded and unshaded parts combined. That doesn't work. They all have to be shaded or they all have to be unshaded. So when we combine these groups, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in each group, so we're dividing by 5. And we end up with 1/2. Letter D, I want you to do it by yourself. Pause the video and come back. Okay? So check your work with me on letter D. We start out with 4/8. We divide by 4/4, and we end up with 1/4. I'm sorry. 1/2. 1/2. That's 1/2. Okay, 8 divided by 4 is 2. Okay, let's look at the next page. Next page, the directions say, number 2, compose the shaded fractions into larger fractional units. Express the equivalent fraction in a number sentence using division. So basically the same thing we were just doing. So, we start off with, in this case, we start off with 2/6. We're going to divide by 2/2 because there's 2 in each group, and we end up with 1/3. which if you check your work, you have 1/3. I want you to do B, C, and D and then come back and check your work. Pause it, please. Do B, C, and D and come back and check your work. Okay, go ahead and check your work. Please pause and check your work. All right, now let's go on to letter E. Letter E says, what happened to the size of the fractional units when you composed the fraction? So the fractional units, what happened to them? They each got bigger, right? So we have bigger units. Now, what happened to the total number of units when you composed the fraction? When you composed it, you made it a reduced fraction. What happened to the total number of units? The size got bigger, but the total number of units, we went from a 10 to a 5. They got smaller. Okay. So go ahead and bring that in tomorrow. Is there another page to this? Oh, there's another page to this. Let's go ahead and look at this one. In the first model, show 2/6. In the secondary model, show 3/9. Okay. So it wants us to show 2/6. Then it wants us to show 3/9. Express equivalent fractions in a number sentence using division. So this was 2/6, this was 3/9. We can divide these this way and these this way. So how many is in each group here? There's 2 in each group. So we divide by 2 over 2, and we end up with 1/3. We agree this is 1/3. Over here we have 3/9, but how many is in each group when we divided it? 3. So we're going to divide by 3 over 3, and we end up with 1/3. Same thing, but these units were smaller to begin with. Okay. In the first area model, show 2/8. In the second area model, show 3/12. So I want you to do this. It's the same as number 3. Come back, check your work, and I will see you tomorrow. Go ahead and pause it. Check your work. Okay, go ahead and check your work here. Okay, you should have 2/3 divided by 2 over 2 equals 1/4 for this one, and 3/12 divided by 3 over 3 equals 1/4 from this one. When you come in tomorrow, or the next day, we will be doing the homework in class, we'll be doing the exit ticket in class, and if you have any questions, please come in with those tomorrow. Have a good night.